Okay, hello everyone, and a big welcome. Welcome to the Women of We and the Women's Campaign as well. And we really feel the resonance with you, and we're just happy to have you with us and to get to know you and to share this experience. I would also love to recognize Liz Williams, who is on here with us as well. She has been moderating this Divine Feminine Room all week. I can only imagine how many, it must be 50 or 60 presentations. She has really been in there devoted to the Divine Feminine all week long. She has a Facebook page as well that's called Business Women Giving Back, a wonderful page that I encourage you to check out as well. So we are the Evolutionistas, and I'm Sheila Cash, and I'm coming to you from the eastern coast of the United States in the Chesapeake Bay area. And I would love to let some of our other evolutionistas speak their voice and let you know where they're coming from. And I will add that I believe 1/4 of us, so there are 4 of us, and one of our evolutionistas, Janet Grace Nelson, is living in Northern California in the midst of the fires that are going on right now. And so she is evacuating. She's in the process of evacuating right now. So you will be spending your evening with the 3 of us, and we are sending her our best thoughts and energy during this evening. So Aurora, would you like to unmute and speak, just introduce yourself to the ladies?
Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. I feel very blessed and privileged to be here. My name's Aurora Pagonis, and I'm actually tuning in from the east coast of Australia, so in the southern hemisphere. It's early morning here, and I just heard from our beautiful Janet Grace that she should be joining us in some time, so she will be swooping in on the call. Very privileged to be working with this very powerful, I guess, space of the Divine Feminine, and finding her way through us into whole spectrum leadership. So looking forward to speaking and being with all of you.
Thank you, Aurora. And Pleasance.
Yes, kia ora everyone, as we say from my country, which is New Zealand. Kia ora means be well, be healthy and whole. It's our version of hi. So I'm delighted to be here as well. In these remarkable times where the Divine Feminine is rising so strongly through us to help bring about the shift that needs to happen on this planet. So it's an absolute delight to be in this group and to be aware of those of you that are watching this as well. So many of us stirred and motivated and lifted up to bring forth our energies and work with each other to create a new collective genius, a whole spectrum leadership. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to speak about what we're offering and to also connect with all of you. Thank you. Kia ora. We say kia ora at the end too. It's like a bookend. Kia ora.
Thank you, Pleasance. So the 4 of us, the Evolutionistas, met through the resonance of each of us having been immersed in the field of conscious evolution, and through the mentorship of Barbara Marx Hubbard. Some of you may be familiar with her, maybe not, but she has been really, truly an iconic visionary and futurist whose passion and mission throughout her life, throughout her nearly 90 years since she was a young girl, was to bring the synergy of our collective genius together in a way that worked for the good of all, and also in finding solutions to take our species forward. She always said that for the first time in our human evolution, we can now evolve by choice and not by chance. So that really says a lot. That sort of packs a punch, this little quote. And within our group, our Evolutionistas, we've been immersed in coaching and teaching and speaking for well more than a collective 50 years in advancing our human potential. And we've come together with a very dynamic synergy and collaboration since 2019. We vision a whole spectrum way of life and leadership, which includes the infusion of the divine feminine. Our current co-creation centers on the new genius. And genius was also a term that Barbara Marx Hubbard used to describe the uniqueness of each person, their individual skills, their talents, their passions, and what she called their heart's desires, which are so very, very valuable to this world, and all unique, all of the billions, all very valuable. And while there are many aspects to the new genius, as we've coined it, the foundation of this movement is about whole spectrum consciousness, and which includes balancing the inner ego with the global collective, balancing our experiences from the past and all that we've learned from the past with what is arising from the evolutionary impulse for our future. And then infusing the divine feminine into what has been predominantly the sacred masculine for a synergy, a new depth of knowing that creates the new skills to solve the problems that lay before us as we continue to evolve forward in these very uncertain and also beautifully transformational times. So the evolution of consciousness itself right now is leaning into the divine feminine. We can see this trajectory. We find ourselves in this 21st century. We're slowly moving into resolving global issues from the old mindset of bloodshed into discussion and nonviolence. Domination is being lightened up by collaboration. Heart intelligence is coming into view. Our intuition, our knowing, and our visioning, and so much more. And it's all about true integration now for whole spectrum living and leadership. So what can the balance do for you? What can whole spectrum living bring to your future and to your personal and collective leadership in the world? Truly integrating yourself will bring a level of balance in your ability to relate to and to work with others. And the divine feminine brings the ability to see issues more deeply, to understand more, and to relate at a vastly higher level. And it brings the energies of giving and receiving into a more equitable flow. Many of you can probably relate to that. The feminine skills of intuiting and visioning and even knowing are that, and when I say knowing, I'm talking about that feminine brand of knowing, really illuminates more solutions that are needed as we move forward. And it's all about integrating for wholeness now. Solutions can no longer come from biased, piecemeal, broken, and disintegrated thoughts and actions. And whole spectrum living and leadership dissolves the separations and opens the door to whole spectrum solutions. So we are in for a juicy discussion and experiential ahead. And we'll be presenting the divine feminine, what it is, why it's needed, what it can bring to our current and future reality, and how it is showing up in you now. And then we'll have some deeper meditation and reflection time with some provocative questions to get your own divine feminine flowing and peaking up and perking up. So you might want to get some pen and paper available, or some people will just be able to type some notes into the device that they're on, one or the other, and just prepare as we get ready for a discussion right now. And I'll turn it over to you, Aurora.
Beautiful, and I just really want to welcome that Grace has made it into the space. I sent her a little message to say when you're working with a beautiful group of four, it almost felt like one of the legs of the chair was missing. So welcome, sweetheart, just as you're settling in. And we've just framed up the context for the morning. Thank you, Sheila, as we are going to move into a sacred conversation where we're really going to be embracing the divine feminine within the whole spectrum leadership. And so I would just love to invite the Evolutionistas into this conversation now, as we then embrace the whole of everyone who is into the space, which is a very feminine way. And I'm loving that we have an intimate group of women here today live. There's something very palpably special and powerful that occurs in the intimacy. So really just inviting us to feel like, even though we can see each other across the screen, to start to be gathering into sacred space, into a sacred circle, into a conversation of openness and safety and of love. And where I would like to start this conversation is to really start to presence the divine feminine. And one of the things that have been occurring, she has been weaving into every conversation I've been in this week, whether it was leadership conversations in the business room, whether it was working with the Global Prosperity Movement. It is her coming now to the forefront that feels like we are opening into a new era of leadership and a new era of living. And for me, what I came to discover, and what's been really alive for me this week, is that there's been a lot of unraveling for us to just even claim her here fully now. So when we're starting to look at balance, just to actually know that we can embrace her fully now with all of the clearing and the releasing and the letting go of the eons of time that she's been banished, that she's been rejected, that she's been minimized. And so to even have her at the starting gate, I just really want to acknowledge the courage, the passion, the willingness, the openness, the love that has allowed her to be here. And I know that I'm looking at eyes freshly on this screen that I may have never seen before, yet I know that you know what I'm speaking to, just in your willingness to show up today. So I really want to start this conversation from a place of deep gratitude and appreciation for all of us who are carrying the seeds and the knowing and the codes of the feminine, because there's an excitement that comes in me knowing that in her presencing, we're getting closer to the visioning of what is possible on the planet. So I'm going to start our conversation from there and invite one of the other evolutionistas to pick up from there in terms of what's alive and them.
Well, I can jump right in. You know, when I considered this question, knowing that was come up, I thought I would be moving into the skills of the divine feminine, because I have been teaching those for 20 years. The intuitive, the sensory development, the channeling of the universal frequencies, and channeling the evolutionary impulse. But really what arose very organically was my realization of those skills, those divine feminine skills that have come through me and probably led to my work in the last 20 years of the maternal skills of raising my 3 children, who are now grown adults. And I am the new grandmother of a almost 2-week-old baby, so brand new. But I have always been, I've always recognized the natural instincts of mothers that come through, which whether you've given birth or whether you haven't, you still have those same skills. But they have come through me in such a profoundly visceral way. And these are skills that do have applications in the wider world and, in whole spectrum leadership. So who would have thought, that the mothering skills were going to apply to the, the path of leadership. But but it does. These skills seek integration, right? Integration is the wholeness. That is the whole spectrum. The divine feminine seeks those solutions that nurture the future. This is the feminine. We're nurturing the future. This comes from eons of child rearing. And what brings wholeness and happiness and healing for all. This is what we do. This is what we do for the species very naturally. And rather than the us, them, or the me competition, it's all about protection and flow and inspiration. And, we teach, and we start teaching our kids, and then we start teaching, whether it's corporations, whoever it is, cooperation, right? We're doing it in the, in the preschool class, from the preschool classrooms up to the corporate level. And creativity, because the creativity, these now in this new paradigm, and as we bring the divine feminine in, there's no more hard and fast rules anymore. Those just don't fit. They don't fit anymore. And then just the last point I want to bring in is that the divine feminine, as every one of you will recognize, and all of those listening through the live streams, can multitask, right? We can do even 5 or 10 things at a time sometimes and still be thinking of other things at the same time. This is a superpower. It is completely divine feminine. It comes from the gathering days of old, of, ancient primal days. But having multi-perspectives, this is one of the premier divine feminine skills for leadership, because it's those multi-perspectives, being able to see all sides of the issue, that makes for that higher level of diplomacy, right? And well-balanced solutions. So wisdom comes from that integration of multi-perspectives, and wisdom is the integration itself. This is the whole spectrum living that we're talking about. And I'll leave it there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I'm so grateful and honored to be here. I'm Janet Grace. I'm one of the Evolutionistas, and I just escaped the Southern California fires. So I apologize for my tardiness, but I'm safe, and I just landed. So I'm very grateful, which is, also another very alive and evolutionary quality of the divine feminine is really to reach into that spectrum of gratitude. No matter what's going on around us, we have this also, in addition to, as Sheila said, our ability to be multitaskers. We are also so highly tuned to laser focus on exactly where we are and exactly what our task is. And I think that's another incredible superpower. And I want to add another I word, because you mentioned intuition and you mentioned instincts, But I also want to just bring into this rich dialogue tonight the word inclusive. I truly believe that the divine feminine, whether it shows up in a female body or a male body, when we portray the importance of inclusion, community, collaboration, connectedness, a whole new evolutionary impulse is awakened, because I believe that there's just giving you just a briefing. I'm guessing that I missed the introductions, but I'm a minister. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm an agape licensed practitioner. I'm a spiritual life coach. And so the spiritual practices that I am engaged in on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis, really assist me in just checking in with the divine, checking in with source, checking in, where am I in this moment? Even in this conversation, this rich, deep dialogue that we're engaged in. And it's rich and deep in our hearts, which is really the spark of the divine, that just like Sheila's brand new baby grandson that's 2 weeks old, you know, the spark of the divine was the essence that was dropped into his heart. Our heart is the first organ that signifies we're alive. When we connect with that spark, that essence, that truth, that core of who we are, there is instant connection, instant inclusivity, instant ability for us to tap into our intuition, our instincts, because they come from the divine. They come from the essence of the truth of who we are and whose we are. And so it brings another dimension of aliveness that allows us to participate in a much broader spectrum, and invites others to join in with us. So I will pass it on to another sister. So glad to be here. Love you all.
And kia ora. I'll come in as the fourth evolutionista. And the I would like to add is the I of insight. Because building on the ideas that have been talked about already, I believe it's only through the divine feminine that we are able to gain a whole earth perspective. Because the divine feminine is about the earth that we are on as well, Mother Earth, Gaia. And in our country in New Zealand, Māori, our indigenous people, call Mother Earth Papa Tuanuku. And we rest our feet on her, and she gives us food, and she supports and nurtures us, and she hosts us. It's not about us really dominating the world. That isn't working anymore. It's about being grateful for Mother Earth hosting us and working with us and being with us. And I'd like to just very briefly share my own journey with the divine feminine. My grandmother was very strong. My grandmother was one of the strongest women I know. She came from Norway to New Zealand. So I had a very strong grandmother figure in my life from when I was very little. I also almost died when I was about 7 years old because I got a rare blood disease and I wanted to go home to the stars. So early on, I knew that I didn't come from here, but I'm meant to be here, as we all are. We're all meant to be here at this time. And then the family my soul had chosen me to come into happened to hold some very strong, extremely conservative views about women. A particular church where women weren't able to speak only the men, and we had to wear scarves to show that we were subordinate to them. So I then had to work my way through and out of that background. And guess what? At that point, the divine feminine expressed itself in me as a very fierce woman warrior. Because when you have that kind of background, there's a great deal that you feel pretty upset about. But out of that was a passion to help make the world a safer place for women and for children. So I devoted a lot of my life to that work, breaking glass ceilings for women, even been working in prisons to reduce sexual harassment towards women, and many, many other initiatives that I worked on in collectives and groups of women. And that was the most exciting thing for me. It was like, I never did it alone. We were teams of women. We were out on the streets, reclaiming the streets. We were setting up rape crisis centres, many different initiatives. I set up a women's bookshop at one point, and the joy I discovered there.
Oh, she froze.
We froze Pleasance.
So, Aurora,
It was what it is we can do.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not back again. Right.
You're back now.
Okay, I'm back, and it's saying my internet connection is unstable, you know, the whole, yes, anyway. Remarkable teacher came to New Zealand in the 1990s, Jean Houston, and at the end of a transformational course, we lined up, and she looked deep into each of our eyes, and she gave us a task to do. And the task she gave me was, go find a new vision. The vision you have had has been outgrown now. And so I went to the mountains. I went to the mountains by myself. I had a number of experiences there, discovering what it was like to be alone, to potentially be in danger. And the point where I was most in danger, in the middle of a vision quest in the middle of the night, where someone was coming through the bush and I could hear them, I called in every goddess I know. I sat in the middle of that tent and I breathed in divine feminine energy. And at that point, I felt invincible. And the footsteps went away. And coming out of that experience, what I realized is we need a different relationship between women and men on this planet. One of shared partnership, one of mutual honouring and respect. But for us as women, we have this incredible, special connection to the divine feminine, to the goddess. And that's what the earth and the planet and humanity is yearning for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pleasance. It's so powerful when we can hear each other's stories and really experience them. And as an extension to everything that's already been shared, I want to name two more qualities that feel really important for the divine feminine. And the first one is our ability to receive. And in our ability to receive, I feel like we're in such an important time in history where, in our willingness to be still, to open, to come together, to create sacred space, in the opening of being willing to receive, we can start to receive the visions. We can start to receive the new solutions. And through that, we can start to ground them in. And the other place that feels very, very important to name here is the deep listening. She knows how to feel beneath and around the words. And there's a connectivity that comes in the deep listening, which will absolutely shift the way that we communicate with one another and the way that we can communicate with the beautiful men on the planet. And so to bring some of the threads together now, I always feel like a little and like a little animal doing my little threads, but you bring all the threads together. What feels important now is as we gather up all of those qualities that we've started to name, I want to just quickly share my, I was wooed by the divine feminine about 10 years ago, even though she's been in and out of my life for forever. And in her wooing, she invited me to start an organisation called She Speaks, and to invite women to start to gather from across the globe, to start to bring forward their voices, to bring forward their gifts, and to start to be rising into a new form of leadership. One that engaged all of the qualities that we have already started to name. And what was interesting, of course, as I continued in holding that container and refining that container, I continued to embody more of her as me. However, a year ago, as we started to gather in the call, I'm just going back to what Sheila started with, the call of Barbara Marx Hubbard, and we all found ourselves together in a group, a cohort of evolutionary leaders from across the globe. None of us had met before, or perhaps we had, but not in this lifetime at least. As we started to come together, something new started to be inspired in me. I knew that I was moving forward into another level of my own evolution, my own next level of leadership. And what I was discovering in working with hundreds of women across the globe, in their willingness to embody these qualities of the divine feminine, in and of their own, those qualities alone were not going to be able to create the changes that we require on the planet. With those qualities alone, she's not able to really ground in and bring forth the projects that are going to be needed now. And so this new invitation for me personally and collectively started to open as she's leaning in, knowing that she also is now ready to dance with her sacred masculine, who's holding her from behind. This is the picture I often have this. He always sits behind me and I lead from her, from my heart. And yet without the union, the power and the possibility of what is now required in this wholeness becomes impossible. And so in this place of creating a future where anything is possible, we need to now start to really lean into this integrated wholeness within ourselves and with one another. And what I'm starting to notice as I lean into that place with my sisters in consistent gatherings with grace and Sheila and presence, in the willingness to show up wholly. I love the play on holy as in holy, H-O-L-Y, as holy, W-H-O-L-E. When I am willing to show up in this place of being whole, there is an amplification of possibility that starts to open up. It's like the separate, the masculine and the feminine together are so much more than. Consciousness and business together is so much more than. The inner and the outer coming together. It's like this opportunity, it's like an explosive volcano which becomes able, it's like a rising of energy. And I really want to presence that in the space today, because when I was feeling into this session, and when I was feeling into the We Women, and I was feeling into the women's campaign on the 11 Days of Unity, what I saw and felt was us all rising in this together. And the final thing that I wanted to say, our wholeness also is not only the individual wholeness of the I, but what I'm noticing is when we're all moving in that place together, in the recognition of the grander wholeness, where there is no separation, then all of a sudden another level of crescendo and rising is possible. And so I'm calling in this upliftment and this holding into the space. I'm just wanting to check in with the other ladies if there's any last threads before we move into the invitation of the voices of the other women on this screen. So thank you so much. Beautiful. Let's all take a beautiful deep breath together, shall we? Just before we transition into this next place, I just want to allow some space for us to feel what's being touched inside in this conversation. So I invite each of us now, if it feels true, just to close down the eyes as we drop into a little meditation visualization. Okay. Just allowing yourself to arrive even more deeply now in the embrace of all that has been shared, inviting in the essence of safety, unconditional love, connectedness, in the invitation of taking the longest, deepest divine breath that you have taken all day so far together. Taking a moment to really allow yourself to be in that place of feeling, welcoming whatever you are feeling in this moment. And just because we can, if there's any part of your body or your being that is needing more of your love, more of your presence, just inviting the breath into that place now. That's it, beautiful. And in the willingness to be here, taking a moment now to turn our attention to welcoming all who have gathered into this space, from heart to heart to heart, sending out the huge space of welcome and appreciation, whether on screen or arriving in the recording, allowing this to be felt palpably, and perhaps now extending it to every single woman on the planet, letting them know that they are seen, that they are held. And now to every brother and child and elder on the planet, as we also welcome in our inclusive circle here today. And in our invitation to presence the divine feminine, and in our willingness to embrace the sacred masculine also. Just asking yourself with eyes closed, how is the divine feminine expressing through me in my life right now? And where do I feel that I'm still holding wounding? Just allowing yourself to feel that. I'll ask the question again. How is the divine feminine moving through me in my life right now? Just noticing. And where am I still feeling I'm holding wounding? And in the willingness to bring her into more wholeness, what becomes available to me? Just with eyes closed, we're going to have a moment to journal shortly. Just feeling away. And what can I now see is possible as we move into integrating whole spectrum leading and living? So just allowing the receiving and the feeling and the experience of that as we take another beautiful divine deep breath in through the nose and a long breath out. And in your own time, just coming back to open eyes, inviting you to take your pen and paper. We've popped the questions up on the screen and just having some time with yourself to journal your responses. I'm going to play a little bit of music to allow us to continue, and we'll be coming into a conversation shortly on this. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, just finding a way to complete your journaling. And I'll just ask Pleasance if she would kindly stop sharing her screen so we can just come together again. Thank you, Pleasance. I've also popped the questions in the chat box. So we would love, love, love to have you enter this conversation with us now, and would be very open to just hearing the insights or the clarity that has come through for you just in the willingness to drop into these questions. So just inviting some shares into the space. And of course, the Evolutionistas, I know that every time that we play in this way, we have deeper insights as well. So whoever feels called. Yes, Sharon.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for allowing us to be in this very beautiful space. I'm at peace. I am overjoyed with meeting new people that have like minds and like hearts and from different parts of the world. It's so wonderful. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for all your words. I'm so glad, Janet, that you're safe and that hopefully everyone else there gets the same benefit that you received. This question was very interesting for me because I think the answer came before I knew what the question was. And then when I saw the question, I thought, I was just writing that. I have two children. One is 29 and one is 23, and they are as different as night and day. And my 29-year-old and I have often had difficulty communicating with each other, so much so that for the past 3 years or so, we have not seen each other. She lives somewhere near here. I don't know quite where she lives. There's a real disconnected relationship that we have. In contrast, my younger daughter lives with me and we complete each other's sentences and just flow together. And I believe that the divine feminine is present in me in those two opposite ways, in that it allows me to uncover deeper parts of myself, to be not only a mother, because as they are of the grown-up age, the mother takes a little bit of a backseat and the confidant or assistant or waiting to get asked person shows up more. So I really find that she does that. And one specific thing that happened yesterday was profound for me, because another word I'd like to add to your list of beautiful words for the divine feminine is patience. And patience for me does not include waiting with hope, because this relationship with my older daughter, waiting with hope was painful, because for 3 years, hope was hard to hold on to. So the patience became allowance for her to be whomever she is at that moment, and for me to retain the loving energy without judgment and without needing to act upon it, which is, I believe, a feminine quality that we are becoming more aware of as we evolve. And so not having spoken to her 3 years is a long time. Yesterday, she called. For me, it was out of the blue. And what I found was I was just, oh, look at that. That's patience in action to me. And we spoke for 33 minutes, which is an incredibly long amount of time for the two of us. And what I uncovered that the divine feminine was working, doing her beautiful, just effortless energy transmission between the two of us, is that her dad, my former husband, is extremely male, all of the qualities, and that's a wonderful thing, but she bounced between the two of us. And for those 3 years, I think she presented more of his perspective of life, his energy, which did not give her a space to have me in her, which I am in her. And she does have that feminine, but it was kind of heavy underneath. She shared with me that she has a cat who she got from a place where this cat was very shy, very unwilling, and she had to mother the cat. And I think in her, I'm gonna get a little teary here, but I think in her mothering this beautiful animal, it opened the space for her to see me. And she called. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And I would also love to present another beautiful, powerful quality of the feminine. And thank you for sharing the others and your incredible story of allowing. And that is our willingness to be vulnerable, our willingness to show all of us. So thank you for being a divine model of that for us this evening, this morning. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I think Jana raised her hand. Do you still want to share?
Jana, did you want to share?
Yeah. Hi, this is Jana. I hope you can hear me okay. And I just wanted to say to my friend Sharon that you should have seen how happy your face looked when you were talking to your daughter that you haven't talked to in a long time. And I went through that with one of my children after my divorce, and I know how painful that is. Thank you, and I'm glad that happened. And I just want to say my little writing is that through this whole past week, I think I was hiding myself after a very long, painful 2-year journey. And I think maybe I've been finding myself this past week because I'm battling my head room muscles to get this to all happen. And I hope I'll be able to show that I can be a leader to the other people at We the World. And I thank Karen Palmer for bringing this to us, and Aurora for hanging in there and reaching out. And it's really great to be a part of this group. So thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. I'm not sure if it's Jana or Jana, and both are so very beautiful. And I just really wanted to present something that feels like it's arising in the space. And Sharon, you also were leaning into, sweetheart, this place of conflict that occurs when we are moving from the different energies of the masculine and the feminine, in the willingness to start to open into both aspects of ourselves, you know, the rejection and the resistance, and this place that we're actually calling in for harmony around. And so you shared that and modeled that so beautifully in your willingness to really embrace your divine feminine in the allowing. Something new opened up. And this is kind of the power that we're holding in our understanding and in our recognition of the divine feminine, that not only can it have such a powerful ripple effect in changing the game in our own family, but now as we turn to our whole community and to all of humanity, that single action is already having a ripple effect. So thank you. I'm curious if there's any other shares as I know that we're going to need to move towards closing. Is there any other quick shares that want to be, Amber?
Hey everybody. I would love to share, and I'm so grateful and thankful that I actually came to this call this morning. Your words this morning from the four ladies, you've taken me on a journey where I just feel like I'm so lightheaded, and a state of euphoria is the only word I can think of. And really tuning into the divine feminine. I feel her rising and rising and rising within me. I've done a lot of personal development work this year, and I've worked with a coach, and we've been working on the divine feminine actually, and going through all of that, and it's all just coming together, and just sort of going through the questions. I can see where it is in my organs that I have some blockages, and there's still some things that need to be released, and that's okay. Number two is about letting my intuition rise. It's becoming stronger and stronger. And a bit like what Aurora was saying, you know, she came in and out, has always come in and out, but it's been very much a masculine side, actually a wounded masculine, if anything, has sort of run my life. And I'm feeling the intuition, and it's like I'm not listening to what other people say because they've said, oh no, you're just being silly, you know, and all that. And it's like, no, I've always had this inner knowing that, you know, I don't know, but I know that calling from within, and allowing the grace and everything to come through now, and having that unity of the masculine and the divine feminine, because that masculine side of me, it's given me the skills to use my hands to be physically creative and everything, but it's the divine feminine part that gives me the inspiration and the ideas and everything. And now I'm beginning to merge and allow it all to come out. Yesterday I launched my Facebook page and starting my own business. And as soon as I press the invite the people, you know, this wave of, oh my goodness, I've done it. I feel sick. I feel excited. I feel, oh, but then it all just let go. And it's like, it's okay. I'm free to be me. And it's like, I just want to do more and more and more of this. In my younger days with my children, they were all through the Cub Scout movement. So I started off as a parent helper and everything, and then I became a leader. And in the Cub Scouts, we use the names from the Jungle Book. And I chose Raksha, which means mother wolf. And that's who I feel I am. I am mother wolf to not just my own children, but all children. And the children flock to me. They've just got this, they just come, they just want to be near me. And it's because of our children, I believe, that, you know, they are our future. And we need to have all these beautiful divine feminines and all the women to raise these beautiful children. Go back to the ancient tribal days, I feel, where women raised the children with that love and the grace and everything. And that's where I think number three, that everything is now possible for me. And I'm just going to let everything go, let those old beliefs go, and lead from the place of my heart. And thank you so much for letting me share.
Very beautiful. It's so interesting when we are coming from that place of, yes, this is what we look like. Look at Amber. Isn't she just shiny and sparkly? I'm just wondering if any of the evolutionists specifically would like to respond or share anything in response to Amber's share.
I would love to. Amber Joy, it's a joy to see your beautiful lit up spirit and everything that you're sharing. And, you know, as we find that place of wholeness, bringing our, you know, the inspiration and the action together, that's when the, you know, the explosion happens. And thank you for sharing your experience with your new, you know, Facebook page, and congratulations. It's like, you know, it's another birth. It really is. And when we get those inspired ideas that are coming to us and through us for us, and there's an illumination, another I word, there's an illumination within us that says, yes, that makes me come alive. That has a sense of expansion for me. I know that there's good in this idea for others, which is the mama bear coming out that, has this, it's not just about me, it's about my ability to shine my light and help others through this inspired idea. And I hope you share with us your Facebook page and how we can, support you. And, just even the simplification of how you described it, the idea and then the action. And, when we take that action before we really allow ourselves to receive the inspired ideas that is uniquely feminine, and we take action, then we're going to bump up against resistance and struggle and pain and, and all kinds of, roadblocks and things coming in our way. But I've been an entrepreneur for over 40 years, and all of the businesses that I've created and birthed really came from that inspired idea first. And it really is a divinely feminine way for us to share in the whole spectrum experience, that the divine feminine has to come first. And so thank you for sharing it in that way. And I'm so excited for you.
And I'm super lucky because I get to play with Amber in that field, don't we? So it's awesome. So in a moment, Pleasant's going to be sharing a way that you can stay connected and what we're up to in the outer world, but we do have time for another brief share. So is there somebody else that wants to share something in the space? Oh, thank you so much. And could you just share with me how to pronounce your name? I didn't want to get it wrong.
Okay, my name is Ugoji.
Ugoji, that's
Ugoji
beautiful.
Eze. Yes.
Eze, beautiful, thank you.
Thanks a lot. What came to my mind when you had these questions to contemplate, especially as regards the divine feminine, I find myself being in an arena where I have to maintain my feminist. I have to sort of like holding the ship together in a global arena as of the United Nations. I find myself being in a room predominantly with men, and at the same time having to be feminine, having to be strong, having to insist on having my voice to be heard, and it's and having basically to work in an area to heal the fractured world, as we say in Hebrew, Tikkun Olam, and basically to sort of seize the day, to insist to have my voice to be heard, and not to be drowned, not to feel intimidated by my surroundings, and basically to seize the day, to seize the day and to insist on having my voice, to be a change maker and not to be intimidated. It's very difficult to be in an arena, to be in a conference room full of men, and they seem surprised when you have something to say and it's something worthwhile to say. I've come from a background which is not really a profession, which there are not really many women around, as I'm a lawyer by profession. And I remember few years ago qualifying in London, there were not many women in that profession. Your voice was not really heard. So I see myself, I find myself constantly being in a situation where you have to seize the day and make sure your voice is heard. You're not drowned out, you know. So it's difficult to explain, but
I hear you.
as the mic goes on, you have to make sure within a few minutes you've said what you have to say, and you've left that impact. You know, you've impacted the room with what you have to say, and at the same time maintain being feminine. If you know.
So I love what you're bringing into the mix here, because this is a very important, powerful place for us now to bring our voices forth. I grew up in a typically male-dominated industry. I was working in the corporate business arena in IT and telecommunications. And so I've been in the places where there's a lot of the masculine energy, and sometimes the masculine energy that is not yet in the recognition of the power of what needs to be shared in the feminine. And I guess what I'm curious about, where is it that you get your support? Where is it that you get your nurturing, your ability to be held? Because, you know, even when we are able to come through in those arenas, there's a place where we can actually be sustained, maybe not here yet, but out here, so we can keep coming back in. And I feel like this place of holding and making sure that we're in good company, you know, outside of that conversation, because absolutely you're having impact. Yeah. You know, how is it that you continue to sustain yourself and be held so you can continue bringing forth this powerful good work?
Well, it hasn't been easy because, like everything else, you have your good days, you have your bad days. But I've learned that when you get knocked down, you have to stand up and come back fighting. You have to reinvent yourself, and just basically, the many times you've been knocked down, you have to come back, and you have to come back better. You have to basically reinvent yourself, and you have to reach a point where, and I think I've reached that point where I don't really care what they say about me. You know, you can walk in a room and you can feel, especially the men, oh God, here she comes again. Or, you know, where did she get that idea from? So basically you just come in, you deliver, and you go. It's just like being a lawyer. You come in, you state your case, and you go. You just have to be at a point where you have to be, I think basically you have to be strong within yourself. You can't, you know, get up in the morning and say, oh, am I going to upset them because I've reached a point where I say I do not care.
Yeah.
You deliver, you have to be, you know, you can't be intimidated by the big boys. You can't walk into a room and you say, oh, wow, these people, they're ministers, ambassadors. You just don't think about that. That's the way I get through.
So my invitation to you is to come and hang out with us.
Okay.
And be in good company, because I know there's a place of nourishment and being seen and being held. And this conversation, we don't have time to continue right now, but I'd love to continue the conversation with you. And I'm sure there's other women on this screen who would also. But what I would like to say, I've learned when I'm moving in those environments to have at least 2 supporters with me. So I am holding my leadership with 2 others side by side. Generally women, but not always. Men who have also opened up into this new understanding, so that I'm also calling in this place of support. So the invitation is for you to lean in, and it's probably a perfect segue. Please stay connected with us. And it's a conversation that feels like it could be continued as I pass on to Pleasance, because I'm not sure if there's a program after this time for her to share how you can stay connected with us and what we're up to. Thank you, Pleasance, and thank you so much, Dr. Eze.
Thank you.
Yes, so I hope you can all see that. This is about our program, Birthing Whole Spectrum Leadership, which we are launching in October 2020. And this is the invitation for you to come and be with us and continue these conversations and this deep inquiry into the divine feminine, birthing whole spectrum leadership. So here are the details here. And so Amber Joy, when you said about launching the Facebook yesterday, I think every evolutionista in the Zoom room went, yes, we know what you mean, because we've just done that too. So, so here are the details about the Facebook that you can go into. So, yes, and we'd love to see you and to have you come and join us there in that space. I'll hand it over to any other evolutionista that would like to say anything as well.
Cousins, can you share that? You did in the chat. Okay, we couldn't see it on the screen because of the site. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can cut and paste it and
All right. Okay.
jump on in. I just want to say what an honor and a pleasure it's been to play with each one of you. And I know that you're up to amazing things in the world right now. And the calling to really be in these deep and rich conversations. This is just the beginning. We'll be doing some more sacred conversations, live experiences. We'll be sharing a lot of inspiration and different workshops and things that are available. And, you know, Dr. Yuuchi, as you were speaking, I heard the word courage, and it just welled up in my heart that liqueur, which is the root of the word, is of the heart. And to encourage is to bring all parts of yourself together. And, you know, like Aurora says often, you know, to be in good company is so essential at this time of the evolutionary spiral that we're all engaged in. And so to play at this level with other extraordinary women that are up to amazing things just encourages us, and it inspires us, and it gives us that sense of, like Aurora said, that there's this sense of, I'm not alone. I'm standing up and I'm speaking up and I'm showing up in big arenas, and I'm not alone. I have my posse behind me. I have the you know, that strength of each other to hold us up as we're up to big things right now. So I so look forward to playing with you all more, and thank you for your vulnerability and your participation and your ability to just really speak what you're experiencing. And you know, these questions and so many more will be ones that we will be diving in and really exploring a deeper part of ourselves that allows us to participate on a higher level of ourselves in all the places that we're being called. So such an honor and a pleasure.
Just before we hand over to Sheila to close us, I just wanted to specifically name, I've put two things into the chat. One is our Facebook group, which is where we're building our community. We're inviting those who are emerging leaders and leaders who are wanting to step more into the new genius and come into this place of good company in the Facebook group. We'll be having masterclasses and ways to play. I've also added in the chat a link, which is to our webpage, where you can register your interest via your email, and then also click onto the Facebook page from there as well. I'm just going to pass over to Sheila. Thank you all so much.
Yes, and I've been so heartened and so uplifted as Janet Grace so beautifully just expressed. And you know, I just want to honor the divine feminine in all of you, in all of the ways that you have expressed it, likely from birth to this moment in one way or another. And to honor the ripple effect of all who have been filled and uplifted through your divine feminine. And just to say, remember to call on it more in those situations where you are surrounded by all of the sacred masculine, which has its best features, and also features that have covered the feminine over these years. But do come to be with us. We're going to be having also just casual conversations on the Facebook page, touching in with each other, supporting each other. And we hope to see all of you with us. Really, we would love to get to know you better and to walk this path forward with you. So we'll close now. I think Aurora was going to put up a little piece of music. You can stay for a moment or two and listen to the music, and we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.
And thank you all for gracing this room with your presence. It was an absolutely beautiful, beautiful time together.
Loving you all.
Such an honor. Many blessings.
Thank you.